team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouses dedicated to helping the military connect community start and grow their own business. I'm your host, Iron Mike Stedman, joined by my co-host today, Amy Morton, and our guest, Frank Manto. What's going on, Amy?
Hello.
Howdy, everybody.
I just offended Frank, y'all. I asked him if he was Army or Marine, and he goes, "Really?" And I should have known because he's got the poncho liner behind him. That's definitely a Marine thing. Many of us still carry our poncho liners, but this has been in the making for like 6 months to try to get Frank on an interview because we back and forth on LinkedIn. We had scheduled for the pod, and I'm so glad to finally have you on and highlight all the work you're doing with Crayons Ready to Eat, and also share some insights for our audience about navigating these supply chain issues from the perspective of an early stage, bootstrapped entrepreneur. So before we get into that, I want to pass to my co-host Amy, who's going to talk to us about what's going on in the bunker.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, another week where we've got a lot going on. So last chance to get your veterans and residents applications in this week. Those closed on March 31st, and that cohort starts in July. So check out bunkerlabs.org/veterans and residents. And then Breaking Barriers and Entrepreneurship Workshop, those applications are open through April 4th. So if you're an early stage startup, very early stage startup, and you're looking for more support, that's a great one for female, Asian, Black, and Hispanic entrepreneurs. And then we've got our ambassador program applications are open currently through October 15th, tax day. So get your app in for that. If you want to be a community leader in your area, check out the website for what areas we are looking for. And then we have applications open for the USAA. Are they open? Yeah. Open for the USAA anniversary pitch competition. And the application open is for DC. So that event is coming up. And then finally, we've got events happening in Tennessee, Knoxville, and Nashville this week. So check out the communities tab on the website for that.
Amy, what events are happening in Tennessee?
I think they're both Bunker Connects. So there's a Knoxville happening and a Nashville happening. So it's our basic event where you get together and chat with veteran entrepreneurs and other members of the business community in your area.
I was asking because I believe we're headed to Tennessee this week too, so probably some
Yes.
overlap there. So for everybody that's tuning in from Tennessee, hopefully I get to see y'all in person while I'm down there. I haven't been there in I don't know if I've ever actually been there. So it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, we're gonna be so Bunker Labs, the whole team is coming down to Nashville. So we'll all be at the one in Nashville this week.
Love it. All right, my man Frank, the man, the myth, the legend. Frank and I met back in the day. I feel like we're Bunker Lab OGs. We first connected in 2018, early 2019.
That is correct.
It was probably early 2019 when I had an opportunity to host the fireside chats for the WeWork, the veterans and residents back in the day. But pre-COVID times just feels like forever ago, right?
Tell me about you. It seems like it was freaking a millennial ago.
And now I don't even know how to describe you. I'm tempted to call you a serial entrepreneur. You done some woodworking, right? You got your full-time job going on. Now you launch Crayon Ready to Eat, which to me is an awesome brand. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. And now you're our resident, entrepreneurial bootstrap expert on these supply chain issues. So, before we get into all that, just please introduce yourself to everyone, and then let's talk about your venture.
I don't know about expert, but I've been through some stuff. So my name is Frank Manto. I'm CEO and co-founder of Crayons Ready to Eat. I also own Kamikaze Woodworks. I have a full-time day job, and I'm also in the process of launching a coloring book company, as well as another venture that is turning a military joke into a reality, as well as we've done with the crayons. Entrepreneurship was something that I was kind of thought about many years ago whenever I was, but it just didn't really stick. And then whenever I moved out here to California and I got tired of corporate America and everything, I decided to do something I enjoyed. I grew up in the backwoods of Ohio, farm country, and that's when I was like, I wanted, high school wood shop. And woodworking was where it was at for me. It was for therapy. It was just being able to do something with my hands and be able to make something and put it into somebody's home and potentially bring back family heirlooms and custom made gifts and things of that. And that's where the crayon idea came into effect because I I wasn't called a crayon eater. I was 95 to '02. We were devil dogs, ground pounders, jarheads, and it was never called a crayon eater until I think like 2016, 2017. I started seeing memes and stuff on social media. And one day I was working with a woodworking project to required me to use crayons. And I thought maybe there's something to this crayon eater nonsense whenever I switched crayons and put one in my mouth and started gnawing on it. And I went with it. And one thing the military taught me was, press forward and adapt and overcome. And whenever you set a mission, go for it. And now, a little bit over 4 years later, we are here finally to the point to where our molds have actually shipped as of a couple days ago and should be arriving to our manufacturing facility. And we're offering pre-orders to get our crayons and make everyone a crayon eater, one CRE at a time.
Love it, man. I just want to clap it up. Everybody clap it up for my man Frank here. Let's show him some love. It's so hard to come up with an idea, let alone bring it to life. And then we think about everything that's happened over the course of the last 2 years. I mean, COVID just took like 2 years took 2 years away from us. And for you to still persevere and push through and bring this to life, I want to give you your flowers now. And because you're an inspiration to a lot of our entrepreneurs within the Bunker Lab ecosystem. Now, obviously, the pandemic has brought up some challenges on the supply chain side of the house. Can you talk to us about that, kind of what you've been experiencing?
So, not necessarily, the supply chain issues have been a massive, ordeal. But where it really hit for us is we had our cottage food from it. We were making it in my kitchen at my home. And when COVID hit, they weren't reissuing them. We were not able to produce. There was no going to live events. There was no activities going on. There was nothing for us to keep our brand alive. And we kind of went dormant. And when we decided in 2021 to take this to mass production, that's whenever we really started finding out that there was some issues with supplies. It was manufacturers. There were a limited number of mold manufacturers here in the States that they were closing or they were either backlogged or trying to get the supplies to be able to make the molds. Was traditionally just to get in a conversation to start the process for the molds was 10 to 12 weeks. Then once we were to start talking with them, it was potentially another 8 to 10 weeks before our molds were going to be completed. So it was, thank goodness, to networking. And I firmly believe this, your network is your net worth. And through networking, we were able to, we tried to keep everything here in the States, but we were able to find a mold company out of Italy that actually had some, the supplies needed to make the molds. And beginning of December, we started discussion for the molds. And now, as of a couple weeks ago, the molds actually got sent out. Packaging, trying to get our packaging was also an ordeal. Trying to find a company that was willing to work with a small amount, same thing with the molds, and let alone have the right packaging that we needed. So traditionally, packaging could be turned around probably in a couple weeks. It's taken us a few months to get our packaging ready and established and start being into print. Our packaging, we finally just got the approval that the packaging is ready to print a week and a half ago. So we're waiting for our sample pack to get here so we can announce that. In my day job, I'm a service writer for a heavy equipment operator, heavy equipment repair facility. There are parts that have been literally 30 weeks out. If anybody knows anything about heavy trucks, there's called the DEF units, which is a diesel exhaust fluid, and they have a sending unit. There is one that we actually ended up literally had a truck sitting at the facility for about 35 weeks because we couldn't get the DEF sending unit to get the repair done.
So what advice, I mean, now that you know this, what would you have done differently, right? Knowing that all these supply chain challenges, because one of the things I'm thinking about, right, is like a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we have to de-risk, but you don't know what you don't know. So as you're able to kind of look back as founders are going through this process now, what would you have done differently?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't have done anything differently because knowing I'm a there's nothing we could have done to, it's like the military taught us, adapt and overcome. So adapt, and we end up press forward and we go with the hand that we're dealt with. The mission is still the same: mass production, get our crayons out to the masses. And whatever adversity comes in the way, you press forward and you move on to it. So with COVID, it was just something that we had to, a hurdle we had to get over.
One of the challenges for e-commerce brands, et cetera, is obviously maintaining cash flow, because even with this, you got to purchase the materials, you got to purchase everything. How have you been able to keep healthy cash flow in the business to even navigate these challenges and also prepare yourselves to grow the business?
It's been a lot of self-funded, but the biggest pivot point that helped us out was in 2021. We learned about a crowdfunding platform called Fund the First. It's a law enforcement, first responder, military oriented crowdfunding platform, and they use ID Me to verify who you are. So there's no chance of doubling down. They do GoFundMe's. That's like a GoFundMe, building funds for a fallen personnel, or business venture like we did. Right now, we were the top business venture on that platform. We ended up raising a gross total of 15,000. We netted about 13,000 out of that. Plus, I was able to get involved in a pitch competition with another great organization that is there for veteran entrepreneurs called Warrior Rising, and we got a $10,000 grant from them. So it was a massive ordeal. And right now, we're pre-ordering. We're taking pre-orders on our website with the supplies, our molds getting finished, our packaging getting done. We can then be able to meet our goal of shipping on May 1st, start shipping on May 1st.
I want to give a shout out to Jason Van Camp and the Warrior Rising team over there. They're awesome. I had a chance to connect with them at the Military Veteran Startup Conference in San Francisco. And that's a testament to our entrepreneurial ecosystem for veterans and military spouses, because that's just great that you're able to participate in programs here, go out, do pitch competitions, and then also get capital from another org, and it's the importance of us all kind of working together and supporting each other. So I want to give them a shout out on that. And also, smart on you for the pre-sale, because again, this is one area where a lot of early stage founders struggle, right? We end up trying to go to market, we spend a bunch of money, and then we end up not having positive cash flow. Well, with the pre-sale, you're able to get that money in the bank account, validate that you have a product that people are willing to pay for, and use that money to basically scale up and produce a high quality product. And I think in this era, like you said, of the supply chain issues, you've got to have cash in the bank, particularly for these early stage founders. So pre-sales is one of those ways to help give you some time and some cushion to navigate these issues and figure it out. Instead of like, oh, somebody goes on, they purchase, and now you got to navigate these supply chain issues and get a product out in like 2 days.
Oh, exactly. And you also got to have other streams as well. You got to have, like, we have our certified crayon eater decals. We have our Lance Corporal Crunch stickers. We have crayon eater t-shirts. We even give people a free download for a coloring sheet of our Lance Corporal Crunch, as well as we have e-gift coins. So we have other avenues to be able to not only focus on the crayons, but we were able to, get things situated. And one of the things that we've done during this pre-order is we've also given people a little bit of a break. Up until the day that we ship, there's a code that they can use. It's Crayon Eater 10, and they get 10% off. So we're giving people a chance to save money on this pre-order, and after that, it goes up to full retail price.
So we're starting to get some questions coming in the chat, and this is one of these platforms. We do want to be a lot more engaging with you all. So while Frank is here, if you got questions that you want to ask him, feel free to go ahead, and drop those and go ahead and drop those in the chat. Now, Frank, one of the things I was wondering, when you're dealing with supply chain issues that are obviously hindering your plans, right? Are you getting out in front of this and communicating with people that are purchasing the pre-sales or investors, et cetera? And how has the response been, when you inform them of some of the challenges that you're having?
Well, we've tried to do everything we can to keep everybody informed. We typically send out a monthly newsletter, and they can sign up for our newsletter on our website. We a lot of places, once they're established, they'll send out weekly newsletters, stuff like that. We want to give the accurate, most possible information at the time and say, hey, now this is happening, this is happening. So we learned in the beginning that we put out and say, hey, we're shooting for this, it's coming, it's happening, but we didn't have a definitive dates, and it created some communication issues with our followers. But the moment we started giving accurate 100% concrete information and waiting to send out those newsletters, we've been getting very good responses through it. We have all of our social media platforms. They can just search Crayons Ready to Eat, and they'll find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. On all those platforms, we're on Twitter, and put out posts. And we also started doing a bi-weekly live, which is called Crayon Eaters Unite, where we talk about updates, current events that are happening, things that we're doing, as well as we bring on right now Marine veterans that are doing either things in the veteran community. They got a business venture, and we support them and highlight what they've got going on as well. So we want to get, if there's any Marines out there that are doing things in the veteran community or own a business, feel free to reach out to us at info@Crayons Ready to Eat. We'd love to have you on our biweekly show. We have our next show is coming up April 5th, where we got Elliot McKenzie coming on. So it's another way that we're keeping a lot of the avenues open to keep people informed as well as in as 100% accurate information as we can.
Love it, man. So those of you out there, when you get in these supply chain crunches, basically Frank is saying communicate. Let your stakeholders know what's going on. Be open and honest about it. And I try to tell the small business owners, early stage founders, you're not Coca-Cola. You're not these big co-brands, right? You can be a little bit more personal. I think people appreciate that. So I want to turn to some questions here. Bob Abbott wants to know, he's curious if you're going to use the popularity of the pre-sales to further modify your pricing strategy. And if so, how do you go about doing it?
So right now, our pricing is pretty much set where it's at. To be able to do the pre-sales, it's a way of making sure that we're able to pay off all the other invoices, because we basically paid for through our crowdfunding and our grant that we got. We paid for the molds, we paid for the package, and we put a down payment on the manufacturing. And if ended up, it's better to be able to potentially drop your prices if the pricing goes down than it is to raise your prices later. So right now we're set pretty much at that price where we're at, with the current pricing of all the materials needed to make this happen.
I got a question for you, Frank. How are you thinking about expanding Crayons Ready to Eat beyond just the veteran community, right? So, I'm a brand guy, right? And I got dog whistle branding. So when you say crayons and eat it, and that's like my head goes there. But for civilians that necessarily didn't serve in the military that might not get it, have you thought about how you're going to be able to expand into these different markets?
So we thought of that whenever I basically thought of that whenever we started the production of this. Our crayons do not look like traditional crayons. They're triangle shaped with a point at each end. I did that for multiple reasons. One, it's flat on the table. It doesn't roll off. You don't lose your food. The child hand and most people's hands naturally go to a triangle shape. It's easier to hold. Also, higher ranking officials can tell lower ranking officials, as well as, most importantly, parents can decipher the children. Ours are safe to eat. The round ones are not recommended to eat. Our packaging right now does look like MREs from the military. Once we get through the main niche of in the military community, we will then work on a retail kid-friendly, oriented packaging that we can put into retailers. We also have a future goals of being able to get into restaurants. Most of your restaurants already have crayons, and we want to be able to get our crayons in there, because whenever even in the past before COVID, crayons were used, those crayons were pretty much grabbed up and thrown in the trash because kids put them in their mouth. They roll on the floor, they're dirty. They can't really reuse them um, for hygiene and health purposes. So with ours, you can be able to eat them, use them, and it's a treat for the kids. So we have future goals of starting out getting into a restaurant. We just made a connection, and we're hoping that we can launch within our first restaurant here in California. There's a restaurant called Bastard's American Canteen. It's a group of Marines from the Marine Corps Unit 2-4. As those of us in the military know, that 2-4 is also known as the Magnificent Bastards. And they started a restaurant up in Downing and one in Temecula. So we went and visited the one in Temecula, and we got a good rapport on potentially having a future meeting with them to be able to put our crayons in their restaurant as basically a test trial, see how it goes.
Love it, man. I think that's super smart on you to go to market that way. Finding that audience that you can reach out and touch, getting some traction there, and continuing to expand. So now we're going to transition to one of my favorite parts of office hours is our book recommendation section. If you're tuning in, if you got a book rec or you got a question, feel free to go ahead and drop it in the chat. Frank, what book recommendation do you have for our audience?
Sean Whalen's How to Make Shit Happen. This one here, it helps you basically take your daily life of, the chaoticness and everything that you got going and be able to put into a routine and get things situated. And basically, just like it says, how to make shit happen.
Love it. I'm going to transition to my man, Doug Williams here. He wants to know, how do you confirm product market fit? Also, what steps are you taking to grow pre-sales?
So product market fit, it's basically you have an idea. It's good for you, but do you know if it's going to work out in the market or whatever else? Put yourself out there. And where we started was with Bunker Labs. I started out, I met Raymond Lott, the Marine rapper. It was in the woodworking industry where I'd made him a woodworking project. Came down and talked to him, told him about the crayons, and he gave me an opportunity to put my product into other people's hands. And when I saw other people outside of my friends and my family actually enjoyed it and it was good and they loved the concept of it, we knew we were onto something. Then we started, okay, let's make some and get to a couple other events and have a table and see if people, put out free samples. We didn't charge anything. We set them out there, let people try them and everything else. And that's when we really knew that there was something here. And how often is it that you can actually bring a joke to reality? And we did that. And it's just a matter of testing and trying. Sometimes you may look at Edison. He found 1,000 different ways to not make a light bulb. He didn't fail 1,000 different times. There's different ways of trying to do it. He tried it. And sometimes you may find that one product doesn't work out there in the world. So you have to shift and navigate onto something else. So it's just a matter of getting out there and putting it in front of people.
I'm going to take another approach too. Don't worry about product market fit. Find your perfect customer. This is someone that loves you, willing to pay you a premium for your product or service. Tell everyone how amazing you are. So send you a constant stream of warm referrals. And oh, by the way, they make you enjoy being an entrepreneur. They don't drain you, right? So a lot of early stage founders, you're trying to focus on product market fit. Get one client, then get 10 more, then get 20 more, then get 100. So you validate with paying customers. That's the fastest way to get to product. Don't even use product market fit. Get paying customers. When they're willing to pay you a premium for what you're offering, then you know that you're onto something. And the next step is, can you scale it?
And let's go back to the, answer the other part of the question is, what we did, the steps to grow the pre-sale. In a matter of, for us, we brought a joke to reality. It was it was based on the community helped us be able to grow and get where we are, between sharing our raw videos from when we were at events on social media, letting people see, getting people to try it, and just keeping, posting on social media and keeping that information out there, has been able to get us to, pre-sale. It's been a relying on our community.
I want to be cognizant of our time because we got a lot of questions coming in. So Frank, in 30 seconds, tell Joseph Pierce your plan to scale your growth.
It's put out an amazing product, keep putting out on social media, and staying true to the Marine Corps of honor, courage, commitment, and adapt and overcome and press forward, and being able to not only institute just the initiatory 6 colors that we have for all 6 branches, but putting other avenues out there with future colors and other products that are going to be coming out within Crayons Ready to Eat. And we're going to go into a much larger production of different things where we're going to be not just Crayons Ready to Eat, but we're going to be Vet Civ Treats. Vet Civ Treats is basically going to be the 1-800 flowers of military branch wars in the chocolate treats and candy industry.
Our executive producer Carrie Sue's behind the scenes. I know she can be cracking a whip on me to get to start to wrap things up. That is a great topic on scale and growth. I'm actually going to be covering it on the transition in about 3 weeks. I had an interview with Asia Orangios. She specializes in helping brands get to their first 100 customers. Already did an episode about how to acquire your first 100, but this is reinforcing a lot of those topics because she's an SME on that. So stay tuned for that in about 3 weeks. I want to plug 2 books real quick. Number 1, the e-commerce marketing handbook. I'm getting a lot of e-commerce brand clients on my side at Ironbound Media, and always be learning, right? So I'm always diving into books, and this is by Privy, and Privy specializes in helping e-commerce brands get to their first 1 million. And a lot of times we start talking about marketing and branding, and we want to get to 100 million, but I like that really tight niche. And what I'm noticing of a lot of early stage founders is they're struggling to get to that first 100K and then getting above that. So got the e-commerce marketing handbook here. Really good, simple read, clear and concise. It's about 130 pages. And this was written based off of interviews from the e-commerce marketing school podcast hosted by the founder of Privy. So check this out. And the second book I want to plug is I actually have my first book coming out. It's called Black Veteran Entrepreneur, Validate Your Business Model, Build Your Brand, and Step into Your Greatness. I'll be launching a crowdfund on my social media channel starting Thursday. So we'll love for support around that. This book is not trying to make money off this book. This is just a way for me to continue to give back to the community, share stories and lessons learned, and to be quite frank, increase the number of underrepresented founders in the veteran entrepreneurial community. So I appreciate your love and support on amplifying that. Frank, it's been an honor having you here. We got to keep this conversation going. We'll follow up, get you on the Transition podcast. For everyone else tuning in, make sure you check out the show. We have dropped fire episodes of the Transition podcast. I'm telling you, you don't have to go at it alone. Listen to these stories of other entrepreneurs that have been out there in the trenches, taking off their armor, getting vulnerable, and keeping you from making the same mistakes a lot of us have made along our entrepreneurial journey. I want to go ahead and acknowledge our virtual event sponsors for the day, MetLife Foundation, and their commitment to transitioning veteran service members and military spouses into entrepreneurship, as well as providing financial resources to the community as well. We appreciate you, MetLife Foundation. Make sure you guys are heading over to bunkerlabs.org, signing up for the newsletter, and getting plugged into the ecosystem. You got 2 programs that we're taking acceptance into right now. We've got our veterans and residents with applications closing soon, as well as Breaking Barriers in Entrepreneurship workshop series. So there's no excuse to go at it alone. Apply to these programs, get plugged in. We'll take you from idea to invoice, position you around other founders and CEOs, and put you in the best possible position to navigate this entrepreneurial journey and plug into the veteran, entrepreneurial, and military spouse ecosystem. So until next week, everyone, peace, love, and have a great rest of your week.